Hi, this is Jackie from the Stitchin Post, and this will be my second visit with you about Valori's Enchanted fabric that's coming out in May 2021. We are doing a series of projects leading up to the release of the fabric, and hopefully, if everything works out right, each week we'll have a project to show you. They'll be very simple projects. They're projects for the beginner quilter, somebody who doesn't quilt at all, or a sewer. But it might get you inspired to actually do a little bit of sewing, and they're all very simple and only take an hour or two at the max to make them. I'm going to do a table runner later on that might take you a little bit longer, but these are very, very simple. Now, as we had told you before, I received a half yard of each one of her fabrics. Here's the fabrics here. There's 14 SKUs in the line, and then they sent 7 SKUs of, I believe, the Jane Sassman solids. And they're really cool because they kind of look like they're hand dyed. And so I'm going to use those throughout this whole project also. So today for our first one, because I'm trying to work, this is what I have. The half yard basically looks like this without the hole in there. So I decided to do some journal covers and these little composition books that you can buy in the, wherever you go, any place that has them. But what I like about these are actually gridded. So if you want to draw, you can have a little gridded one. Now, I haven't seen them lately. I got these years ago, but I know they're out there. So you can get, and that's what I'm working with, is gridded ones. So we're making a little cover to go over your little composition book, okay? And I'm going to show you how to do that. It's super simple. So the first thing you need to do is measure the book that you're covering. So I have a flexible measuring tape here. Okay, I measure the outside of it from one edge, from the edge right here, excuse me, wrap it all the way around it to the other edge. And you're going to get 15 1/4 inches, okay? Write that down someplace. I'm just going to write it in the book. Oh, I don't have anything to write with, but that's okay. 15 1/4. If I spray this with water, it'll disappear, okay? So then we want to measure from top to bottom, same thing. So, top to bottom, and that measures, it looks like it's 9 3/4, okay? So we're going to write that in the book also. So it's 15 1/4 by 9 3/4. All right. So we're going to actually add inches to this to accommodate our seam allowances. I'm actually going to add 3/4 of an inch to each. Well, we're going to do it to the top and bottom first. So that is 9 3/4, so that'll make it 10 1/2, okay? Then I need my flaps in here, okay? So I actually just add 4 inches on each side. So I'm going to add 4 inches to that 15 1/4, which, 8 inches actually total. So that's going to be 23 1/4 inches. But now I need to add that 3/4 yard to that also. 3/4 inch, sorry. That's a big, no, thank you, Valori. She's in this with me, so we're in this together, and if I mess up, she messes up. You know, you go, I go. Yeah, that's what it is. You go, I go. Okay, so now, smarty pants, what did that up to?
3/4 inches, I don't remember.
Okay, so it was 8 plus the 15 1/4, which is 23 1/4, and 3/4 is 24 inches. Okay, all right, we got that, 24 inches. So I am going to cut 2 pieces of fabric, my outside piece and my inside piece. And you're going to see this orange a lot because Free Spirit sent me enough to do the back of a quilt. I'm not doing a quilt. So everything that I do is going to have orange in it. So all these book covers have orange in the inside, but you're not going to see it, so it doesn't matter. Plus, I happen to be an Oregon State fan, and black and orange are their colors, and Val keeps pointing out that I'll have plenty of Oregon State fabric, which is true. So, now, I've already pre-cut my pieces. This is what it looks like when I'm done. So I still have this and this left over to do more projects with, and they'll be coming up at a later date. So I just add this to all of these little pieces here. There's my, and there is, when I say there's a big piece of orange, let me show it to you. There is a big piece of orange here. Okay, so I still have all of this to work with, okay? So now, we move everything aside here. I've already cut them. Sorry about that. But I put a piece of batting in mine. so that it has a little pad to it. Plus you can practice quilting. It's a great little project to practice your quilting. I'm not a very good quilter, so this is a good one for me to practice on. So I've got these 2 pieces cut, my outside, my lining, and now I need my batting. But I don't want my batting the same size as the outside. So when I take my seam allowance, I actually take 3/4 inches off all the way around of the whole entire piece. So it's just 3/4 inches smaller all the way around, okay? Now this happens to be fusible batting. So this is what it looks like. That's how it comes packaged. We carry crib and throw size. You can get smaller sizes, but that's what we happen to carry here in the store. And so you can do a lot of projects with it. And the reason I like the fusible is you have to turn this whole thing inside out. So we're going to go over to the iron, and we are going to press. I'm going to press. I don't measure it. I just eyeball it. I don't have time for measuring it. And don't worry, it doesn't matter if you measure it or not. You'll be able to kind of eyeball. Oh, make sure you get the fusible side down, and it's kind of rough, because if you put your iron on there upside down, it's going to stick to it. And it doesn't fuse. It's meant to be washed away when you wash your quilt, so it's not a heavy fuse. It's pretty light. So you can fuse to this side if you want, but it takes a lot to penetrate that batting. So I'm actually going to turn it over. And I'm going to fuse from this side. And just kind of go slow across it. Again, it's not going to be, you could pull it right off. It's not meant to be a permanent fuse. It's just temporary so that you could actually quilt your quilt.
And obviously light enough fusing that it doesn't affect your needle when you quilt it.
Yes, Val just said it's light enough fusing that it won't affect your needle as you're quilting, and she's absolutely right. It doesn't, not at all. And we're not going to wash this, so it'll be in there. But again, you won't even know after you've got it quilted. You can't even tell it's there. And when you turn it inside out, it actually comes off a little bit. Okay, so I could probably fuse that a little bit more, but I'm not going to worry about it. So this is it. It's not falling off. I'm going to put we're going to do a pillowcase turn. So you have your batting here. Doesn't matter what you're doing if you're doing a quilt that you're not putting a binding on and you're turning it inside out, this is how you would do it if you didn't want a binding on it. So then there's no wrong or right side to this. But if there was a right side, you would be right sides together. Okay? Line it up, flip the whole thing over, and pin it. I have no pins, but that's okay. Just pretend that I'm pinning it in place. Pin, pin, pin. And I actually do quite a few pins because it will migrate when you go to sew it. Go to your sewing machine, and you're actually going to leave an opening on one end. Leave the opening big enough to get your hand in there, because when you turn it inside out, you're going to want to be able to poke your fingers into the corner to make sure the batting is laying down. So I leave a pretty good size, like 5-6 inches opening. And then a 1/4 inch seam, back tack when you start, go all the way around it, and then back tack when you end. Clip the little corners. That's all you need to do, clip the corners. And then you're going to turn it inside out. This one's already turned inside out. So here's the opening, and you can see the batting is laying in here. The fusible part is this side here. See, it's already pulled away from my fabric. So, and then I would put I have a big hand. It's not quite big enough to get my hand in there. Anyway, so and I already poked it out, but I poked out my corners. Now you want the seam along the side here. You want that to be nice and flat and tight. So I go back to my ironing board. I'm going to show you. I did most of it, but here we go. We're going to go back here. This is the opening. I'm going to tuck that under and tuck this under, and I'm going to roll it out. I want it even with the rest of the quilt, and you can clip those off later. Okay, because you can actually, get your fingers wet. I have a little bowl of water here, because if you have wet fingers and you grab onto your fabric, okay, Val's shocked. I got to tell you, normally I'd stick them in my mouth and do it, but I'm trying to be, I'm trying to go with the times right now and be, here we go, sanitary. Okay, press that down. Okay, and I might have to move this in a little bit. It's okay. You get the idea, okay? And you can cut these little pieces off later. Okay, now when you're going around your quilt, same thing. I get both my fingers all dripping wet, and I roll my edge. When you're doing a pillowcase, I keep going down here. I'll do more. Okay, again, I get my fingers wet, and I'm going to roll the edge. See how it pulls that seam out? It's awesome. And I know that everybody out there has had this issue, because I do. And of course, everybody has the same problems I have.
How come I never knew this?
Because, I don't know, maybe you don't. Val said, how come I never knew this? And I'm going to say, because she's never stuck her fingers in her mouth to roll these things. Try it. It works really well, and it's very convenient. Saliva is wonderful things. You know, when you hurt yourself, saliva is great for healing your injuries. Okay, that's why animals lick themselves. Okay, so I went around the whole entire cover, okay? Now, I want to mark it so I can quilt it. This is going to be tough because it's kind of hard to see this. If Val zooms in here, you'll see these little marks right here. Can you see that? They're little blue ones. Okay. I am a terrible quilter. Now you can, okay, I'll have her show you this one. It's not very good, and I used a pencil. Not a smart thing to use, but that's the only thing I had, and you can actually see the pencil lines in there. They don't come out. You've been told, oh, you can erase pencil mark. No, you can't. It doesn't come out. Don't listen to them. So what I do is I take a ruler. It needs to have a 45-degree angle on it. See my 45? Okay, I'm left-handed, so I'm going to do things a little backwards here. To get my 40...
Not to me.
Yeah, I know, Valerie's also left-handed. So we're the only ones that write the patterns correctly. And when people say something's wrong with this pattern, it's like, well, no, there's nothing wrong with the pattern. You just aren't left-handed. Okay, so with your 45-degree angle on the edge here, you start marking it. I've already marked it here, so I'll move this further up here. At this point, they're an inch apart, so I don't even need to do the angle anymore. It's already there. But you can see my mark there. It's a little hard to see this, but there it is. And you gotta look through your ruler and line up. See my little blue mark is there. I'm lining it up there. Okay, here's my little, this marker is blue. It's water. Oh, you now look at my angle. Jackie didn't do good here. See that angle right there? So tip it and do it again. Well, maybe she didn't sew straight. Okay, there we go. All right, so that's on there. You can see that one really well. You want to mark your whole entire top. If you're doing a quilt, this is the same way you'd mark your quilt. But here's the cool thing, which just means I'm going to have to mark it over again. This little spray bottle, love this spray bottle. My son was intrigued by it the other night when I had it at home. He's like, that's an awfully fine mist. So then he had to take it. It worked. Okay. If you spray it, zoom in here, Val. If you spray that blue, oh, this is a, oh, okay. It disappeared. Isn't that cool? Okay.
Mark again right here and do it.
Oh! Val wants me to mark.
I think that was so quick.
Okay.
We have to see it again.
We'll put a couple lines here. Don't mark too hard, but if you spray it with water, it just disappears. Ta-da! See? And if it doesn't disappear, you might want to scrub it a little bit. It's very, very, very cool. And we carry these in the store also. Love these little pins. Annette uses them all the time. So I thought, well, I'm going to use it. I've been in here many a times when she's been spritzing quilts that she quilted. So, and then she'll have us all look at it. Is there any blue marks anywhere on a queen size quilt? Why, yes, we'll take a fine tooth, a little microscope to it and find them all. But quilt the top, and when you're done quilting it, you're going to, okay, before you start quilting it, I'm sorry, I want you to actually close that gap off here, your little opening. Well, look at that one's closed. It's the other end. Okay, you're just going to do a top stitch over it, and I use a pink thread for this, so you want a pink thread. Here is, this one is just top stitched. Okay, I don't.
So just over each of the ends. Oh,
yeah.
You don't even do this side.
Nope, just what Val said when you do each end. No, just the one side. You're not going to see this. It's going to be inside the book. So I just top stitch right there to close it. If you want to close.
My analness says this side should be top stitched. You might as well top stitch this side so they look even.
Okay, if you didn't hear Valerie, she's anal, and she said it, not me, and she would top stitch both sides. Okay, now. In a second, that'll actually make sense too, because So now we've got this closed off, and you can hand stitch it closed if you want to. I choose not to because I don't want to take that kind of time. Okay, this is all quilted. Imagine it all quilted. Here's my book. Lay the book in there, fold this in half, find the center, okay? And then you're going to open one side up and tuck this side under, okay? And you're going to do the same thing with the other side. Tuck it under, okay? That's your cover. Now, take a pin, which I don't have, and you're going to pin these little flaps together and the other flaps together. So when you take the, you can just, when you take the book out, this will be pinned, okay? And this will be pinned, or you can pin it now, okay? And now you're going to pin this down, like line up the top here, line up the top here. Here's this one here, all lined up. And now, and I didn't do a continuous stitch on my quilting, which I would do if when I do it again, I will have this gridded going the other direction, and you'll be able to start on one side and just kind of go across your quilt following that line. And then you won't have these stop and starts. Okay, so pin those, and now to sew this, this is awesome. You put it in the sewing machine and just start across the top on this side, and you're just going to sew the whole entire thing down. You can do just this, but it makes sense to do the whole entire side. And that's how you're going to do the other side. We have a video out with our craft text notebooks, and that's basically the same way we do those. And that's what I kind of designed this off of. But Valori does have a journal cover pattern. And hers has got a little more oomph to it. So it's actually a nicer looking cover, but it's basically the same directions, okay? So this is it, and we carry this one in the store. But when you're all done, here's your cover, and you're just going to slide your little book in, that side. Slide this in, and there is your journal cover. So now you have a gift for one of your friends, whatever, and if you start relatively soon, you can actually have, by the time we're done with our little project here, you'll have all kinds of Christmas, birthday, anniversary gifts, or personal gifts for yourself. So this is the first one. We'll see you hopefully next week with another one. Okay? Thanks.